what should we do then? If we're not going to multitask, what should we do? And I've got 5 top tips for you to take away on this, okay, when it comes to it. Because obviously the picture of the arrows there is to make sure that we're hitting bullseye every time and we're not kind of just missing the target. And that's what multitasking tends to do sometimes when we're trying to do too much at once with that. So let's have a look. Top tip number 1. First of all the research tells us to stop trying to multitask. Okay, so that might go against everything that you've ever come across. It might be everything you were taught. And remember what change does in the brain. If you're used to trying to multitask all the time, and I'm saying stop trying, then you've got to change that dendrite path in your head. And we'll finish off with that later because it's a habit that we've got to change. We've got to change that path. Remember, we go through different stages of change. It might feel a bit weird, a bit uncomfortable, and so on and so on and so on. Okay? We were taught to multitask was a good thing. Most people, dare I say, let's say my age, I know there will be other people of other generations on this call, but certainly when I grew up, multitasking was like a leadership tool, almost. It was like, you need to be able to do this to be a great leader. Whereas if you look at the most successful people on the planet and the most successful leaders in today money, if you like, in today's day and age, you will find they plan their day out quite meticulously of what they're doing when, and they don't let distractions come in and take them off their course. And again, I've got stuff around distractions in there for you today, in there, and it's more of a cultural thing. This is, you know, how many we've got? What have we got now on the call? Hang on. So with there's 34 people, that shot up, didn't it? There's 34 people now on the session. So this is more of a cultural thing as well, because people expect your time immediately a lot of the time in business. And it might be in Tajika, you know, if somebody sends you an email and you haven't responded in 10 minutes, they want to know why. And, you know, if somebody rings you, they want an immediate, and so on and so on and so on. And time is your most precious commodity that you've got, and protecting that time so you can do the jobs you need to do one at a time properly, rather than distractions coming in and having to multitask all day and actually getting to the end of the day and thinking, I've hardly done anything. I know, because I'm coaching a few people on this call, I know there are people on this call that have days where they get to the end of their day and they've done everything for everybody else and nothing that they needed to for the day, and they've probably been multitasking during the day, which is why it's been even harder to get through it. So it's about stop trying. We were taught multitasking was a good thing. Now research tells us actually you're more effective doing one job at a time and doing it well on the back of it. But we were taught that for a while. So we've got some habits, some dendrites in our head that's a good thing, and we try and do it more and more, and do a bit of that, do a bit of this, do a bit of that. You know, and as actually, if just do one thing and get it done properly in the background. Yeah, we need to create a new dendrite path, which is what I've just suggested. You know, if you're used to multitasking and you were taught it was a good thing, as I've said, research tells us now it can be up to 40% less productive than actually just planning out and making sure you're doing what you're doing. But look, take this with a pinch of salt. This, of course, does not mean when business critical or health and safety critical things come up that you don't have to stop what you're doing and deal with them. That's different. That's not when you're trying to do 5 things at once, because it just doesn't work. You still need to be flexible in the workplace to be able to deal with different things. This is about multiple cognitive notions going on at once. It's actually very, very tiring as well when you try and do that. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, remove distractions. Remove distractions, okay? So, question for you. And you can put this in your in the chat box there for me. I want you to name me some distractions that happen to you during your workday. Okay? What kind of things happen during your workday that distract you from doing what's on your list for the day? Distractions. What kind of things distract you? Just put me a couple of things in the chat box there, guys. First one. Yeah, I love it. The first one that's up is people. Yes, people can be distractions. We'll talk about that in a moment, okay? Phone calls, same day meeting invites, urgent emails. Chris has put work. Phone calls and people. Okay, so look, breakdowns, yeah, urgent issues, okay? What you've basically done is kind of broken this down for me into a couple of different sections. Pete's put, let's have a look. I find it useful when people want something to simply acknowledge them and let them know when I will get back to them. This stops hassling me. If it is business critical, they can explain why. Yeah, really good point, Pete. So what you're doing, and if you remember this morning, if any of you guys were on the session this morning, right at the end of the session, we did a model called pause. Okay, so pause, acknowledge, understand, solution, execute. The acknowledgement, the A in pause, is what Pete's talking about there. So when sometimes people want you, don't they? They want you there and then, yeah? If you can acknowledge them and just say, yeah, no problem, I know you want me, I'm right in the middle of this, give me till this point. It just takes that pressure off sometimes, and Christian's put about setting expectations, and I'm going to come on to that in a moment about setting expectations. So what you basically did there, guys, is broke down the different distractions that you have into what I call these 3 different areas of distraction, okay? So let's just have a look at these areas. So the first area is physical. I've classed it as a physical area, and what we have in that is people and manage expectations, which is what's just been said by Christian there. So let's just talk about people distractions for a moment, okay? This is actually probably harder in the workplace when people are just walking into your office or walking up to you, or have you got a sec? And that sec really means about 10 minutes, doesn't it? Yeah, so time stealers and all that type of stuff. People, managing expectations. I've had to do this again recently with my guys, with my team. My team were furloughed for a few weeks during lockdown. I had the office and the studio to myself. I got loads of work done in that period of time because there was very little distraction. And then I unfurloughed my team and they came back into the office, and all of a sudden I got to the end of one day and I'd done loads of work for other people and very little for myself. And I had sorted this out years ago with my team, but I'd forgotten it because they'd gone away for lockdown and then came back. So I had to reset expectations. So there's 3 guys in my office today. If I walk in, which I will when I've done this session and after I've done the one this morning, I'll guarantee you they'll all want something from me, okay? I also know that I've got several things on my task list for today that needs to be done. So because of that, this morning, before anybody got in, I set out the urgency of my tasks for the day in my list, which I'm going to share my technique with you in the next learning point or the one after, okay? It's called the Franklin-Covey system. I know I've shared it with a couple of you guys. I think Darren is using this now, and so on and so on. So now when I go across to my office from the studio and they go, I need this, I need this, I need this, before I've sat down, I'm actually going to acknowledge all of their needs, which is what Pete said, Pete's point that he made there. But I've also got a time slot in my head of when they can talk to me. And I know you might think that's quite anal, but I've got certain things that need to be out by the end of the day. I've got my month-end accounts and it's pretty nearly year-end accounts that are coming up. So there's certain things I need to get done and get signed off by the end of play today. So I'll go in and I'll go, they'll go, need this, need this, need this. I'll go, yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll tell you what, I can do those 2 together and I can do that one separately. But you're going to have 1 o'clock and you need to have 3 o'clock. I can't do 3 o'clock, okay? Or when can you do? 3:30? 3:30 is fine, no problem, happy days, okay? So what I am doing is I am managing those expectations up front. okay? I am managing. And I know this is a little bit more challenging in a larger business. I've worked in a big corporate, you know, I've been a regional director, 300 emails a day coming in, looking after 300 branches of retail service shops, and so on and so on. So I know things can get thrown at us and so on. And if it's business critical, and if it's health and safety critical, then it's probably more important than what's on your list anyway. So you need to go and deal with it. Otherwise, the best thing you can do is to try and manage expectations. The more you manage expectations, the more people understand you're going to manage their expectations. So, when this started happening to me years ago, when I built a team, what I was finding was I was getting nothing done when the office was full. And I'd rather work at home because I'd get more done. But then again, that's not why I had an office, and it's not why I had a team. So I started to manage people's expectations, and when they'd say, I need you, I'd say, okay, what's it for? Great, okay, fine, no problem, let's book a time in this afternoon, rather than going, okay, I'll do that for you now. Because if you keep going, I'll do it for you now, that's what people expect from you, that's what people demand from you at that point. And over time, this is before lockdown, over time with me doing that, I started to educate the people around me. And I know you might be saying, yes, but John, you're the boss. Yeah, but you can do this when you're not the boss, but you just have to start educating people around you. Pete kind of leaned over and I said, we're due to meet, Pete, and he went, not now, John. And that was okay, so I was kind of fine, no problem. However, I needed to speak to Pete within the next couple of days. It was about something, you know, it wasn't urgent, but I still, urgent-ish. So I came away, and then, you know, it trickled down. I think there'd been an incident with a machine somewhere, and, you were all dealing with it, and so on and so on and so on. And then I saw Pete in a corridor later that day, and I thought, well, I don't want to steal Pete's time because I'm conscious of that, so that's about the culture. So I said to Pete, I know you've got a lot going off today, am I important enough for you to speak to me? And Pete very nicely smiled and went, no, John, not today. And I went, no problem, Pete, when would be useful? And Pete went, give us a bell tomorrow morning, we'll pick up then. Great. Happy days. I gave him a bell the next day, sorted it, job done, moved on. But that's about people thinking for themselves, and it's about he still resets it for me. Quite sure what you mean now, Pete. He still resets it. Resents it. So is that resents? Sorry. Resents it for me. I don't resent it at all, Pete. In fact, I've used it a couple of times as a great example of actually, sometimes there's more important stuff, isn't there? Pete, he brings it up in almost every session. No, you're making fun. I do not bring it up in every session, yeah? But it's a great example of where you've got to go, hang on a minute. You can't just steal people's time sometimes. It doesn't work that way, yeah? So let's manage expectations from people around us. We have to start managing it ourselves. So we have to start educating people. They can't just come to us and we'll drop everything and off we go, unless it's business or health and safety critical, absolutely. But once we start managing people, we can start using that language with them, just like I did with Pete. Fine, Pete, when would be good? When can it fit in? Yeah, likewise the other way around as well. See, we can't always fit everything in. So my team, they've got a list of stuff ready for me when I go back there. I know because I've just popped across and I can see them prepping it. My job is to go back and go, right, have you got anything business critical? No? Okay, in that case, I'll speak to you and you can have 20 minutes at 2 o'clock and you can have 20 minutes at 3 o'clock. Because I've got something I need to do when I go back, okay? Unless it's business or health and safety critical, okay? So the first one is people, and I was quite happy to see, first one out was people. Biggest distraction, okay? The next one is mental, okay? Mental. Thoughts in your head, distractions in your head, okay? One of my old bosses when I was a junior manager, I was an assistant manager in a bowling alley. I was very, very junior. And one of the general managers that I worked for, he had a notebook that he didn't ever put down. He never put down. And I used to think to him, and I said to him, why do you carry this notebook around with you all the time? And he went, because I lose thoughts, they distract me. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if I'm in the middle of doing something or I'm talking to somebody and I think of something else, I need to write it down so I don't forget it. But it means that I can then park it and concentrate on what I'm doing. Okay, and that's why, and from that moment on, and it's even easier these days, because in those days, you know, you couldn't put notes on your phone, you couldn't write them physically on an iPad, and so on and so on and so on. But it's very, very good little technique, because our own thoughts can distract us away from what we're doing. By writing a thought down, you drop it out of the brain. It's like a hopper. So you have an idea, you write it down, and you leave space then for either another idea or to go back and focus on what you were focusing on. But by writing it down, psychologically you remove it. It goes out of your brain. Okay, so that's quite a nice little tip for you to take away there. Have, you know, your phone, make a note on it, or, you know, have a notebook with you if you still like pen and paper, or whatever it may be. You know, I take my iPad everywhere with me. It's got, you know, me notes in it and me jobs in it, and, you know, I've got a page for client notes, a page for prospect notes, me personal tasks, me work tasks. It's all on there so I can just get stuff down, so I can focus on what I'm doing. Because remember, this is all about not multitasking. And when you're thinking about 5 or 6 other things that are cognitive, important things that take brain power, it's distracting you from what you're trying to do in the first place. Aaron's just put, when we're chasing the client for info, data, etc., first question is always, is now a good time? If you get a yes, then crack on. If no, then you set a time that suits them to talk. Client is then already agreeing to talk, sets time aside, and is ready to communicate, setting expectations from the outset. Absolutely, Aaron. I really like that approach. The only thing that I would tweak on that, Aaron, is now a good time as a closed question. So if you caught somebody in a bad mood that was very stressed, and is now a good time, and they went no, and even if you followed up with when would be a good time, they could go, I don't know. Yeah, so maybe just have a think about that, and maybe say something like, let me just think about this, rather than is now a good time, maybe say something like, I'm calling now, I'm assuming this is a good time, if not, when would be? So you almost want to, a little bit of sales psychology in there as well. You almost want to not let them say no. No is quite a definite answer to things. It closes the brain down. Yeah? So you could just say, you know, obviously, you know, I'm assuming now's quite a good time to chat about that. If not, when would be? So you're getting rid of them saying no, and you're getting them straight to the when would be. Does that make sense? And I know it sounds like I'm being a bit pedantic with language, but I think there's a little bit of coaching and sales psychology in there as well. But to be fair, you're at least getting the right time to speak to people, if that makes sense. Hopefully that's been a little bit useful anyway, Aaron. I think what you're doing is very, very good. I think just tweak that psychology a little bit. But at least you're managing expectations, which is great, which is very, very good. Yeah. Okay, so remove thoughts, write them down, get them out, get them away, so you're focusing on what you're focusing on. And then finally, technology. Okay, so in the past you had physical and mental distractions, and now we have technological distractions. Alerts, alarms, and Outlook. Okay? How many people probably have alerts, alarms, Outlook, things beeping off every 5 minutes, and so on and so on and so on. Technology is great for what we want to use it for. You know, we've used it for video conferencing and lockdown and all this type of stuff. You know, we can email people, we can message people, we can do all this great stuff. However, it can be a one major pain in the rear distraction. Technology can be. So what I've started doing now is, in fact, on my phone and laptop, my emails only come through when I ask them to. Okay, so you know, if people of my age and older can remember the times where you had to actually press send and receive to get an email. They didn't just come through automatically, and then all of a sudden we had push emails that came through, so you'd now just get them. I don't. It doesn't mean that I don't check my emails 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes more, but I check them when I am not focused on something else that's in there. And some of you might be going, oh my God, yeah, but what happens if you miss an urgent email? If it's that urgent, somebody will pick the phone up to you and they'll be calling you, and you might want to take that call if it's an urgent thing, for argument's sake, okay? But when it comes to emails, those little emails popping through, they can be such a distraction. Remember, you're in the middle of concentrating on something and then you hear a ping. You take your eyes away, you look at the 3 or 4 lines that you've got in the little box of the email, and you think, oh God, right, let's just sort that quickly, and then it's off my plate. By the time you've done that, you've lost your productivity over here, and it's going to take you up to 25 minutes getting back to the same level of productivity that goes on here. So it's up to you, but you've got alerts, you've got alarms, you've got Outlook going on. I've had to turn off Sky News alerts. I used to have Sky News alerts that came on a couple of times a day, and then we went into lockdown and they were on like 3 or 4, 5, 6 times a day, and it's just an alert on my phone that says don't give me the alerts. I still read the news, but I was getting that used to going, oh, what's that now? Oh, what's that now? Just distraction away from stuff. Kevin's put, if you don't mind me asking, long do you put between refreshing? I think I should say, how long do you put between refreshing? It depends on the day, Kev. To be honest, I at least check them. If I'm delivering a course all day, then it's 3 times a day. More, well, okay, might be 4, but generally just before I've started the session, lunchtime, and at the end of the day. And if I've got time during a break, I might have a quick look during the break. So if I'm delivering all day, 3, maybe 4. If I'm in my office all day, I'll probably be using my emails to send emails. So because I'm sending them, you automatically receive as well. So when you send something, it also, well, on most people's settings, it also opens the whole send and receive issue that you've got going on. So it tends to be more if I'm sitting in the office, to be fair. But if I have to write a training program, so yesterday morning I had to write 2 training programs. I didn't look at my emails for about 3 hours yesterday. I answered my phone twice because that's probably more urgent. But then I answered my email, then I got to my emails and I allotted time for emails. This is the thing that people struggle with. People get all their jobs in for their day and don't allot any time in the day for answering emails, which can be quite a big part of your day. So you probably need some time and some priority tasks in there about that as well. Okay? So I think to Kev, there's no real answer. Depends on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. But I do check them regularly though, still. But it's when I choose, not just let them bloody pop through every 5 minutes, okay? In fact, on that, I'd find it very difficult to do that, but I'll take your point. Give it a try, Kev. Just give it a try, see what happens, okay? You don't have to leave it hours, but if you need to concentrate on something for 50 minutes, just close Outlook for 50 minutes, give it a go, and then after 50 minutes you can open Outlook and you can have your Outlook fix back, can't you, at that point, yeah? Okay, so physical, mental, technical, distractions, try and stop as many as you can from going in there. These are getting worse. A year ago I bought the new Apple phone. That's not an Apple phone. Sorry, Apple Watch. That's not an Apple Watch, okay? I bought it because I like my tech. Oh my goodness, did I have to get rid of it? Okay, the temptation all day of looking at the messages, the alerts, the emails, it was doing me head in. And I chose to get rid of it because of the distraction it was causing me. And I went back to an analog, an analog watch that we've got here. So, number 2, remove distractions. Number 3, plan and focus. Okay? So remember, this is not multitasking. We're gonna move the distractions, we're gonna change some habits, and we're gonna plan and we're gonna focus what we're gonna do for the day. So, we need to prioritize your day into, now this is just one prioritization tool, okay? It's the one I use, it's the one I teach, it's the one a couple of you guys use since I've done some work with you. It's a couple of you guys use on the call today, okay? There are many more out there if you don't like this one, but hopefully you'll get the point of this to try and plan your day out, okay? So it's called the ABC system: prioritizing and then double prioritizing your jobs for the day. You will do it every morning, and then you reassess it at lunchtime if you need to during the day, and then you reassess it the following morning. Okay, you could do it at the end of the day, but morning's always a better time to reassess it. Okay, so I've got some examples. If you research successful people, double prioritizing is something they do quite a lot, which is basically make sure they're doing what matters the most, okay, when they need to do it. And they've stopped all those distractions from taking over from what's in there, or they've built time in to be able to do that. So let me take you through this, okay? One action at a time. This is what this is built for. Now, this system comes from a guy called Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective Managers, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and so on and so on and so on. He then linked up with another gentleman many years later called Franklin, and they took the 4-quadrant system, which is something that is used sometimes, Covey's 4 quadrants, and they turned it into this ABC system, which is the system that I use and the system that I teach. Okay? So what we've got here, remember, you want to spend 20% of the tasks. What 20% of the tasks will give you 80% of your results? So make sure you're spending the right time on the right thing, and we've stopped all those distractions coming in, or we've booked in time to deal with those distractions during the day. Okay? So, let me take you through the ABC system. Okay? If you've got an A job in your to-do list for the day, an A job is a job that must be done today. Okay? So no matter what happens, no matter hell or high water, an A job is we need to do this, it must be done today. Okay? If you have jobs that are categorized as B in your list, then those jobs would be nice if you did them today. Okay? So an A job, you've got to do it today, right? If your job categorized as B, it's a nice to have for today. If you have a C job, then it can wait, but it's on your list anyway, in case you have a really productive day and you want to try and get to it. More to the point, your C jobs, the ones that aren't very important, but you still need to know about them, are in your list because you're going to move those forward. So let me show you how this works, the ABC system. So, in the morning, that is what my jobs list looks like. There. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter that you can't see all of this, it's just scribble, but what you've got down here, you might just need to click off the chat box just to make sure you got me full screen on this, okay? This is my jobs list. It's nothing extravagant. It's a piece of paper with a line down this axis and a line down this axis, okay? Then you've got the jobs for the day down here. Once you have your jobs listed down, you then categorize them A, B, and C. So as you can see here, I've mocked this one up. If these were my jobs for the day, I've then gone to the jobs and gone, right, that's A, that's A, that's A, that's A, that's A. Okay? That's a B, that's a B, that's a B, that's a C, 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 C. Jobs. Okay? So what we've just done now is prioritized your workload for the day. Okay? Then you need to double prioritize it once you've done that. And this is what the Franklin Covey system does. And it only takes a few minutes in the morning. It's not laborious. It doesn't take a long time. But once you've got your A, B's and C's, you add your 1, 2s and 3s. So you go to your A's and you go, okay, that's A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. So now I know which order I'm going to be doing these things in as well. Bearing in mind, all those A jobs need to be done today, but now I know which order we're going to do them in. And the same with your C's and the same with your B's as well. So what you've just done is double prioritized your list, okay? And as you go through the day, you either tick or put an arrow next to that job. So when I've done job A1, I tick it. That's to tell me it's done. It's also to give me a sense of satisfaction and celebrate success that I've completed the task. Then I go to A2 and I do it and I tick it. Then I go to A3. Now what I've done on A3 is I've ticked it, but I've also put an arrow, because what's now happened is as I've been doing job A3, something's come up with that job that means it may not be 100% completed today, which means I need to pick it up tomorrow or next Wednesday or Friday or whatever it may be. And what I do next is I write an arrow and next to it, and then I flip in my journal to the date that I'm going to complete that task, and I write it in at the top. I don't prioritize it on that day yet, because you only ever prioritize on the morning that you're setting your jobs up, because things can happen between now and next week and priorities might change. You'll see some of them on here. I've got no tick and just an arrow. So job C4, I didn't get to it for the day, so I've put an arrow and I've moved to tomorrow or the next day or whenever I'm going to do that job next, and I've written it in. So by the time that you get to your jobs list every morning, your jobs list is already written out for you, because you've been adding things to your jobs lists going forward. So when you get up in the morning and you get to your desk, your job list is written out for you. What you have to now do is prioritize it and double prioritize it. ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. Okay? If you then follow your list, you'll be more productive than trying to multitask. Much more productive. The only thing that should change the order of that list is if something business or health and safety critical comes into play that you weren't aware of before the morning. That's the only time that list should change. Something business critical or health and safety critical, okay? Some of you might be saying, yeah, but what, sometimes I don't get through my list because I get like several bloody emails all day. Well, you need some time in your day for email answering then. If that's an A job for you, if answering emails urgently is important for you, then you need to book it in. You need to book some time in for it. Because I'll guarantee you, if you look at a list like that, you're probably not going to get all that done in one day. So what you're trying to do is give yourself the best possible chance to prioritize, double prioritize, and work on the things that are important. And if you need to add time in there as well for answering emails and things like that, then you need to add time into that list. You know, you need to put an hour in for email, answer all emails, go through inbox, whatever it may be that's in there. So that is the Franklin Covey system. That's how it works. It's quite straightforward, straight to the point. ABC, 1, 2, 3. If you continually to write your jobs out like that on your jobs list, whether it's digital or manual, doesn't really matter, then you will find that your jobs list is starting, you generate your jobs list before the day that you even get there, because you're constantly moving things to when you need them to be done, and you're ticking off the ones that you can do, and then something else might come up and you put that one in, so your jobs list will continue. This stresses people out sometimes because it means your jobs list might be 2 months long. Yes, it does. And one of the best things that we can do with a jobs list is understand that it will never end. So a lot of people stress themselves out all day trying to finish all of their jobs. You're never going to finish all of your jobs. Not well. If you do, come and tell me how you're doing it, because most people will have other jobs that come from the jobs and so on and so on and so on. Kev's just put Microsoft Daily Planner tool is a very useful tool to do that digitally. Works on phone app too. Fantastic, yeah. I know that Microsoft Daily Planner has been used as well. So whether you use an ABC system, Microsoft Planner, Gantt chart, digitally, a digital, some kind of to-do list, whichever way you do it, the key thing is to stick to it and keep doing it, because that will help you focus on the one thing at a time that you need, rather than that trying to multitask 6 or 7 different things at once. Okay, and also your important jobs. You need to make sure you know what is important. Some people put little tasks that they can do quickly as A jobs, just so they can do them quickly. That's fine, but is it more important than that job there at the bottom that you need to get your teeth stuck into? So again, it's just about prioritising. Andrew's put OneNote is great for phone, PC syncing lists and pictures, even better. If you can add pictures into this, even better, because the brain remembers pictures better than words as well. It's more emotive. So again, thank you for that, Andrew. So, in other words, use a system that's going to stop you multitasking. Use a daily to-do list, whichever one you want to use. Okay. Number 4, no excuses. Smart people have thousands of excuses. We all can make up excuses. I suppose I've just classed myself as smart there. I don't know if that's the case. But look, half intelligent people, we can make excuses for everything to not happen. But I had to. But no, I needed to. But they wouldn't have settled if I hadn't have spoke to them. And we can keep going and keep going and keep going with all of these excuses that we've got. Let's stop making them and follow our predetermined list, and only change that list if something is business critical, health and safety critical. You're able to do that and you're able to adapt. But remember, the whole point of this is by multitasking, we can be up to 40% less productive. And that's why it's so important to do one thing at a time and know which things are most important. Double prioritizing, okay? Choose what you give your time to. We've talked about that, haven't we? Yeah? Choose where you spend your time. Choose how much time you give to people. Choose how much time you give to yourself. Certainly from the resilience session that we did this morning. Choose how much time. Some people have said to me about that Covey system. They've said, God, do you do that every morning? God, how long does that take you? I haven't got time to do all of that before I actually do anything. If you do it daily, it takes 5 minutes. That's it. 300 seconds. Less than 1% of your day it takes. And if you still haven't got enough time to do it, get up 5 minutes earlier. Because it's absolutely doable, this is. Okay? Choose who you give your time to. Choose what you give your time to. And finally, to finish off, keep calm and be vigilant. And that's not a message from Boris at the moment. But it is to say, keep to your new habits when you've got them. If you're going to put a new Franklin Covey system in, or a to-do list system in place, and you're going to change your pathways about doing one thing at a time rather than 10 things at a time, you've got to keep doing them. Keep vigilant, keep to your new habits. That's you being vigilant about you. Don't slip back into comfortable dendrites, into the state of panic that most of us live in all day by, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, and so on and so on and so on. Yeah? Fight the habits and fight the culture. Remember, for many, many years, people have been taught multitasking is a great thing. Okay? You still might argue that it is with me. All I know is from the teachings and the research I've been doing over the last 5-10 years, all the research points us in the direction that multitasking is less productive than doing one thing at once in the right order of priority, and we can start changing the culture, stop those time stealers, turn off the alerts, do whatever you need to do, and I'll guarantee you'll still be as productive, if not more,